I was counseling a young man this week who's struggling in his business. He was feeling discouraged. And the words I said to him, I was saying to myself at the same time, God has such a big vision for us. He has to prepare us because if God gave you a fully funded nonprofit today, it would probably collapse in 3 years because you are not prepared to manage and operate a fully funded nonprofit. So God is preparing you to manage a nonprofit that's bigger than what you can even imagine because his vision's always bigger than our vision. And the same is true for you and me.
Hey, sales hunters, welcome to season 2 of Beyond the Business Plan, where heart meets hustle and every episode inspires you on your entrepreneurial journey. I'm Lyon, and together we'll chart new courses, tackle challenges, and celebrate those big wins with expert guests, honest stories, and plenty of joy along the way. If you love the show, tap follow, subscribe, leave a quick review, or join our conversation with hashtag JoyMinder, because your support helps us reach and inspire more entrepreneurs. Set sail on your business adventure with Beyond the Business Plan. My guest today has been a W-2 employee, a 1099 business partner, and a business owner. He's been actively involved with the Chambers of Commerce, BNI, and other networking groups. And over the years, he has served his community as a trusted advisor and friend to business owners in a wide variety of businesses. I can speak to that, actually. We'll get there. Learning their unique and shared frustrations and obstacles. He started SRH Business Resource Marketplace with the specific goal of helping other businesses thrive. He's creating a platform where business owners and CEOs can find vetted, trustworthy service providers, all focused on improving business cash flow. But when not working, Stephen enjoys serving as an elder for his church, being a board member for a local nonprofit, and, wait for it, karaoke! So you can find him singing his heart out to his wife of 32 years somewhere in Austin, Texas. His guiding principle comes from the book of Philippians. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Stephen Harris, are you there?
I am here.
Here. Come on down. The price is right. I was going to say that. How are you, my friend?
Wow, it's been a great day. I started off with a Bible study this morning, and it's just been flowing smoothly since then.
Wonderful. I'm guessing based on the fact that you're an elder for your church, you do a Bible study or two.
Yes, I have a small group with church, men's group at church, and a Bible study on Wednesday mornings with a entrepreneurial club.
And starting with that idea, you mentioned that your guiding principle actually comes from the book of Philippians and your favorite book and mine. Um, when you say guiding principle, how does that incorporate into your daily life or your work life?
That's a great. So being in business is not easy. Being a Christian is not easy. Being a Christian in business and doing your business with biblical principles is difficult. The Christ never said following him was going to be an easy path. And so we daily have to choose to do it his way, to submit our pride, our will to his will. And it's not always a cakewalk, right? Sometimes it's challenging because our pride swells up within us. We want success today. We don't want it in 2 years or 5 years, but he's in control and we have to trust the process that he's taking us in. And we'll talk more about that because that's been something that I've been learning a lot about lately in reading the scriptures and in my own life.
Me too. And that's why we have Beyond the Business Plan for real. There's been a lot of upheaval that caused this show to be born as well. And of course, we're recording just after the launch of the show. The episode is coming out slightly later, of course, but you're going to be one of my first, couple months of episodes. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to see things fall apart where I was, or to know exactly where to go at all. And the hardest part for me is things kind of kept falling apart. Or I could say falling away.
Hmm.
Have you ever gone through seasons like that where you thought, "Hey, I know what I'm doing. I know I'm at. I know what's happening," and suddenly, not just one, but maybe two, or maybe everything seemed to fall away all at once?
When I got the urge to start another company, another business, I had a full-time job. I was working at a major tech company that's based here in Austin, and many of them are, so that leaves it vague. But, I had a great paying job and a really decent income. My plan was to start the business as a side gig while I still had my job, and my job was more than enough to take care of the family budget and finance the business. And then I got laid off. Unexpected. Because our team was the first to be hit by layoffs from this company, and there were many, many others afterwards, but we were first, so we weren't expecting it. And I had to evaluate, what am I going to do? Now I don't have any income. The bank account was not lean, but it wasn't, I didn't know how long it would take for the business to grow. So I made the tough decision to empty my 401k, put all of my chips on the table, and launched my business the next year. That was terrifying. But yeah, my plan to start the business just totally fell apart. And I had started putting the pieces together, and I had a pretty solid foundation. I met you, in fact, early on in that process, and things just didn't go as I had planned because God had a different plan.
How do you know then if I mean that's the big challenge. I'm going through it too. My plan, his plan. And like you said, sometimes it should be day to day tuning in, like, okay, it's going to go this way. Um, but if you're a go-getter, like a lot of us visionary type, entrepreneur type people are, how can you tell the difference between that? I mean, that still quiet voice. How do you know if it's yours or his?
Yeah, that is tough. When God gives us a vision for the future, we should look to biblical stories to see how that's going to play out. And very often his visions play out in the Bible decades later. Decades later. We have very short attention span here in 2025. And we have microwaves and fast food, and we want everything now.
Hmm.
And we want our success to happen now. That's not the way God works. He gives us this vision, and we are to stay focused on working towards that vision that He gives us and enjoying the trials along the way because He's strengthening us to where we can handle the success that He has planned.
Mm.
I look at Joseph as a perfect example. Joseph was kind of bratty as a teenage boy, throwing his dreams in front of his brothers, and you're gonna bow down to me. And he had some hard lessons to learn. He had to learn humility. He had to learn leadership, and it took decades before he was prepared for the position that God gave him the dreams about when he was a teenage boy.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that kind of begs the question for me, if you're willing, what is that vision? When did you have the vision that you're working towards? And if you'd like, what is it?
My vision is to be a philanthropist.
Mhm.
And philanthropy occurs in many different ways. We can give of our time, which most philanthropists give of their time. If you think about every volunteer at church and every volunteer of a nonprofit, they're philanthropists, whether they're giving dollars or not. Giving of your time is one of the most important things. But I believe that God's called me to be the philanthropist of finances. And benevolence is part of our business plan. My wife and I keep a very lean budget at home. We intend to keep a very lean budget for the business, and a majority of our revenues we want to give away.
Yeah,
We have some nonprofits that we support already, and we want to expand that list significantly.
beautiful. Yeah, we have known each other for a few years. We've been business partners. We've gone to conferences at the same time. I've met your wife, and I'm trying to remember if you've met my husband, actually. I don't think he's traveled with me.
Yes, when you came to Austin with
Oh,
your
yes,
daughter,
of
she was
course, with
looking
our
for
daughter.
work. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, we were down in Texas. She was still in college then, and we were going to a couple of the different cities. So yeah, we got to hang out. There was no karaoke that evening, though. Now I know. I'm very disappointed. But um, yeah, but I think we've talked even about, there's in the Bible they talk about tithing, which is a 10%, but and also about being a cheerful giver. You're not limited to the 10%.
No,
And so, I've said, I feel called towards a vision where we are living on 10% and we
right,
have that 90% available to be, because we can't take it with us. It's stay, the money will stay right here. But what we do with it can last a very, very, very long time and support and help so many countless people if it's done right. And so I
that's right.
think we're aligned in that. How we do it and where we do it is a little bit different. My vision is, of course, you know this, but for our audience, my husband and I plan to, and we're already starting to look for about a 40-foot trawler. And that's a type of boat that we will take on a 7,000-mile boat journey and run the business, including this podcast. So the full intention is eventually this podcast will be from a boat. And the interviews will be done from the boat and the business will be run from the boat. This podcast, of course, is, supporting and supported by my business, Joyminder Solutions, as well. So there's all that tied together, but I really wasn't stepping into it, and that's the truth. I was so tied into, well, but I'm comfortable and I've got money coming in from over here that I wasn't really developing the business that I felt called to do. And so in the last 10 weeks, suddenly a lot of things got peeled away, a lot. And I found myself kind of standing there going, okay, so now what? And it's been interesting because I feel it's been very quiet in many ways. Like there's been this pause, not in a bad way, not in a desert type of way, but just a pause, like just give yourself a breath. Even while I've been frantically busy launching this show, the next step is still a little ways down the path, and I don't fully see it yet, but I know it's there.
Hmm.
I bet you can speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, again, and Joseph provides a perfect example of that because he had rose to significant power in Potiphar's household, and he had all of that power stripped away and was thrown in prison overnight. And when that happens, our little earthly brains, our human brains, we don't get it. Like, God, what's going on? I'm doing your will. I'm trying to follow your instructions. I'm trying to be faithful. What happened? And he doesn't always give us the answer. Scripture doesn't say he told Joseph, "Okay, just sit here for another decade and I'll get you out." He didn't tell Joseph that. It was just Joseph's responsibility to remain faithful.
Yeah.
And it's hard. God, it's so hard for us to remain faithful when things don't seem to be working out, or things were working and then they broke. Systems break, tools shut down, the companies that we were working with get acquired. All sorts of things can happen. We just have to remain faithful to the vision he initially gave us. Um, and one thing that gives me peace of mind, when God gave us the vision and the plan for our lives, he accounted for our mistakes. He knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows when we're going to mess up. He knows when we're not going to be faithful. He knows all of those things and still chose us for those purposes.
Yeah.
So that gives me hope that even when I screw things up, he's still going to work it out for my good.
Indeed. We're going to take a little bit of a pause and come back and dive a little bit more into what was just said, because that I want to give people a minute to think. We'll be right back. Hey, sales setters, are you ready to thrive and find more joy in business? Discover practical strategies, inspiration, and lots of resources at joyminder.com. These will support your entrepreneurial journey and help you level up your business with heart. See the link in the show notes, and I'll see you soon. And we are back. Stephen Harris was just talking about, sometimes we feel like we're on the right path, and then something happens. We get knocked down, we get knocked off the path. And so we looked up a couple songs. There's one that has really pulled me through some things. It's called Up Again by Dan Bremnes, Bremnes. You can find it on Spotify. And in the song, he says you can take a couple wrong turns and still end up where you're supposed to be. That one and one other is just really pulled me through, literally pulled me through some really rough times. How about you? Are there any songs that come to mind that have helped you through those lower moments, if you will?
Interestingly, when I get really down, I turn to classical music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of study and history behind that for real. I do have a playlist on Spotify. I call it, if anybody wants to look it up, you can follow it, called Playlist for Rough Days. And it is all Christian music. That particular song, interestingly, isn't on it, but another one called The Comeback by Danny Goki is.
Mhm.
And those are, both, I think they speak to me because, man, I have been knocked down so many times. And it's hard, but I'm one of those people who can kind of bounce and get back up. But to go back to our earlier conversation, often it's get back up and hit it hard and do my thing again. So again, how do you know where that voice is to say, this is no, stay clear on the vision, or if it's our own vision?
Yeah. So the Holy Spirit talks to us.
Mm.
The number one way that the Holy Spirit talks to us is through the Word of God. So we have to be in the Word every day. We have to. And He will reveal things to us. Things you've read 100 times will just suddenly come to life. And but he also talks to us in other ways. That it's not always that quiet whisper in our heads that is the voice of God. It's often through counsel, through wise counsel. So in being in a community of entrepreneurial minded people who are also Christian is also important. So you want to encircle yourself with Christians who are in business. And because that entrepreneurial mindset is not the same mindset that people who are happy and called to be in jobs.
Right.
Uh, right? There's nothing wrong with that path. If God's called them to be in that position, God bless them. Some of us, He's called to a different path, and you need to be around people called to that path because it is a different mindset. So I always encourage entrepreneurs to hang out with other entrepreneurs.
Well, like you said right at the beginning, business is hard. Being a Christian is hard. Being a Christian in business is just plain difficult.
Yes.
And so, yes,
Yes.
finding your tribe, which we talk about a lot. I mean, Joyminder Solutions is that is a lot like what you have going for with your business with SRH business consult business
Business Resource Marketplace.
Resource Marketplace is not it's similar and different than what we have at Joyminder Solutions, where we again have vetted certain things. Um, we have a different target audience, I think. I'm really, really committed and called to the people who are just getting started, where you're like, no, business owners, CEOs, very different, but the layout is similar in terms of what we do, why we do it. We want to help those people get where they want to go faster.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. One of the reasons I started the the business and structured it the way it is there's so much clutter in the marketplace. There's so many solutions. Most of them are good. About half of them, I would say, are good. Um, but if there are 2,000 solutions for this problem, how is any CEO going to sort through them? Right? You have to trust upon advisors, those counselors, those trusted friends in your network group to refer you to the right solution. So what I'm doing is vetting those service providers and putting together a list of trustworthy solutions. All that to be said, not for self-promotion necessarily, but um, CEOs are overwhelmed. Many CEOs are overwhelmed with everything, all the hats that they have to wear. Many of them are not organized in such a way that they only have the CEO hat, especially for the smaller companies. They're wearing multiple hats. They don't maybe not even have a CFO yet. They don't have a CTO yet. And so they're wearing multiple hats. And to find solutions, oh my gosh, amongst the thousand other things that they have to do, no way. So things get put on the back burner until they can grow and start delegating and start hiring for the right positions. And that's whom we can serve them the best
Absolutely.
when
Now,
they are
AI,
ready.
yeah, and AI has not made the options any smaller. I think if anything, I mean, now there's startups like every other minute instead of every
Yes,
other day. Am I right?
absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I was a part of an organization recently just for startups. I hope you're okay. Yeah, it was just for startups, and the number of AI powered startups is astronomical because people can go from concept to product or solution very quickly now. And again, it just adds to the clutter. We're cutting the clutter.
Yeah. And I'm speaking in June of 2025. That may or may not be exactly where we're headed in Joyminder Solutions as well, is to be able to help people get there faster now that we do have the capabilities that we have with AI. And I'm just looking one step ahead. I think I've heard that recently that, the visionaries, which many of us are, if we are in that 41% of people feel called to own a business. Many of us have a drive to do something specific. Maybe it is to start a restaurant. Maybe it is to invent a widget or what the matter is, or maybe you're like Stephen and myself, where we really want to serve other people and serve other businesses the way we do. I mean, there's gazillions of options. I mean, go to Joyminder Solutions, you'll find out I've got a whole business ideas tab. If you're not sure what to do, there's a whole bunch of ideas in there that you could follow up on and give a try. I mean,
Yeah.
you can take a couple wrong turns and still end up where you're supposed to be. So if you don't know, but stepping into anything can help you get there sooner. You said earlier that you actually kind of started your business. You felt a calling to start a business even while you had your W-2
Mhm.
employment. Was that new to you when that kind of happened, or did you feel it like all your life, kind of a feeling that you were called to do something like that?
So early on, like grade school, I was great at sales. Like I was in Campfire and I sold whatever we were selling, candy, gift wrap, and all of the school sales things that happened to pay for activities at school. I was great at that. I had no problem. I've never met a stranger walking up to somebody and saying, "Hey, would you like a candy bar? Would you like some gift wrap?" That came naturally to me. So sales was my core background, and I have a 30-year sales career. And so the companies that I've been in, whether they were MLMs or I started an insurance agency, I had license and agreements with several companies, did not do well in that. Even though I was great at sales, stunk at the marketing piece. And after 2 years of my insurance agency not making any money, and we shut it down, and that's when I got hired at this tech company.
Hmm.
So, and while I was at the tech company, I had this knowledge gap that I had identified, and that's why I took the marketing courses and the leadership courses on their dime because they have a tuition assistance program to fill that knowledge gap. But when I got the urge to start another business or the vision to start another business, I was kind of burned out on the sales side. So I wanted it to be marketing related, but I'm not a marketing SEO expert. So I didn't want it to be a marketing agency. There are wonderful marketing agencies out there, but I wanted it to be in the marketing arena. And I've also always been a great connector, referral passer. And so I just combined the two. I created a place where I can pass referrals professionally, and I love it. So,
And as you mentioned, Chamber of Commerce and BNI, I have a background with BNI as well. I was not only a member, but also a president, but also a director, consultant to several chapters, and, definitely learned a lot doing those things. So, like you said, again, going back to the story of Joseph, there's so many trials that we go through, but also learning experiences. And I've had businesses wiped out in a minute, uh, more than once. I hate to say it. COVID did it to a lot of people, but that was the second time within 12 months for me. Because
yeah,
after the first time, I started a travel business. Yay! And 8 months later, boom, that was gone too. Two brutal shutdowns within 1 year. And yeah, it's hard to get up again and get going again. And but when you have a family that you're providing for, which in that case, I had two daughters in college at the time. My husband and I had one of the companies we had worked together. It was our company. And so it was, yeah, when everything gets wiped out, it can be terrifying, really.
yeah. And it's hard for us to ask in those moments, what's the lesson, Lord?
Mm,
What's the lesson? What are you teaching me in this moment? Because everything he does for us is for our good. Everything that he does, whether it feels good or not, it's for our good
yeah.
when we're following him. And it's hard to find those lessons sometimes, but we look back 10 years after the fact and we're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for this situation I'm in now had I not gone through that.
Sure.
And I was actually counseling or had a networking call with a young man this week who's struggling in his business. He was feeling discouraged, and the words I said to him, I was saying to myself at the same time. Um, God has such a big vision for us. He has to prepare us because his business was a nonprofit, and he was struggling with the financing, the funding of his nonprofit. And I was like, if God gave you a fully funded nonprofit today, it would probably collapse in 3 years because you are not prepared to manage and operate a fully funded nonprofit. So God is preparing you to to manage a nonprofit that's bigger than what you can even imagine because his vision's always bigger than our vision. And the same is true for you and me. What he has in store for us is so much bigger than what we're thinking, but we're not enterprise level CEO level yet. So he's getting us there. And the process that we've got to learn to love the process and like God, thank you for this trial because it's making me stronger. You know, that's a hard place to be, but that's what God instructs us to do. Embrace the trials, say, be thankful in everything is the scripture. Be thankful because whether it's easy and joyful in the moment or hard, his hand is all over it, and we should be grateful for his hand.
Uh, and I'll just say amen. And by the way, I looked that one up recently. The translation is also verily, and I believe. So interesting because, yeah, anyway, just a side conversation I had with somebody. They're like, why does it say amen? And I'm like, it's
Yes.
actually a really ancient word, has nothing to do with men.
Yeah, that's true.
But but what you're saying, I think even when things fall apart, there is that, or for me at least, I found myself like, okay, how can I put it back together the way it was fast? Sometimes I don't always look to the new. Like, and I just tell the truth with this podcast, even.
Hmm.
I immediately jumped into, well, I'm just gonna, because I had a podcast for 2 years. One of the things that fell apart is that the platform I was on announced that they were going to fold. And all that I'd done there was going to disappear. Now, I will tell you, I'd gotten significantly better during that 2 year period than I was on my first day. And the
Hmm.
podcast itself molded and shaped in ways I could never have imagined when I started it. I had a different name, I did different things, and I just, when I had the opportunity though to rebrand and redo this, I did jump right into it again. But then I also felt in partly, is this the right thing? Am I just recreating something because it's what's comfortable? Or
Hmm.
is this really my calling? And so I kept going forward, but also questioning it. And I was willing to abandon it. I was willing to
That
actually shut it down.
that is absolutely the right heart to have because he doesn't always highlight our next step very clearly.
Right.
So we do have to be in motion unless he says, wait, unless he tells us to stop, we should always keep going forward, but
Mm.
holding our plans loosely,
Yeah.
being willing to let him take that plan out and replace it with another, but keep moving. Because again, he's already accounted for our mistakes. He's a good father, and he knows that we're going to mess up sometimes. But we're moving forward in faith with Christ as our focus. That's going to reap his rewards.
I really appreciate what you said. Hold it. but loosely, because that's what I did. And I finally got to one point, and this is in an episode. Actually, she ended up being my second guest, up my first guest in my second episode, Cheryl Devon, who has been on radio. We reveal at the end of the show that we actually attended college together. And I was doing a radio show and finally asked her one day, Cheryl, why don't you have one? And so she started doing a radio show. She was in radio for 20 years and did
That's awesome.
very, very well with it. And so at the end of our time together, where we recorded our episode, I just said, and a faithful woman as well. I said, I just am still struggling with if this is my calling. She says, it is. It is. It is your calling. This is definitely you are. This is, you're good at this. And I appreciated it. I took it in, and but it was good to have, like you said, sometimes it is through other people that are Christians, in our case, that we know we can trust that they're also in the word and also following the path, um, more so than, say, your random friends, family, neighbors that might not be. They
Yeah.
have their own reasons. And that's actually another topic we could slide into. Your friends, family, and neighbors are not necessarily ever going to be your greatest supporters, especially not in the beginning.
Hmm. Jesus's brother didn't believe in him until after he came back from the dead.
Which one
So
specifically?
James.
It was James. Okay.
James followed him around, but didn't believe that he was the Messiah until after the resurrection.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, friends and family, and that actually says that too. I mean, Jesus goes back to where he was from, and they're like, "You're the carpenter's kid.
That's right.
Why should we listen to you?" So yeah, it's and even so, the other part, the other thing that I was like, well, I got to get back there. I got to hold on to that, and I'm feeling it peel away more and more day by day, and so that's um interesting and a little terrifying. The verse that enlightened me the other day it came up every morning. I start out with whatever the verse of the day is in the Bible app, and spend some time there. I think this summer I'll hit like 1,000 days of doing it if I don't miss a day. They're not forgiving if you miss a day. But the verse was about being like a child. And it had just never struck me. I just had never figured that one out. I wasn't as bad as Nicodemus, who's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Crawl back into my mother's womb? Not that. But I just didn't understand, how are we supposed to be like children? But the explanation came to me of the just trusting that much. You're a dad, I'm a mom, and our children, especially when they're little, they actually do think we can walk on water. They do think that if we kiss their owies, it makes it better.
Right.
Their trust level in us is so high. They never wonder about thankfully our children, but this isn't true for all children, sadly, but they don't wonder if they're going to eat. They don't wonder if they're loved. Um, and I wish that were true for all children. I know it's not. And so if there's anybody listening to this saying, yeah, well, that wasn't my case, um, please find some peace. There are people who love you and will find you. Reach out. Um, but that's the kind of peace that we can have in our Holy Father, that he does care for us, that he does have a bigger vision for us. We have bigger visions for our children, even as adult children. We just don't tell them anymore. Not all.
Yes. That's a perfect example of, our vision for our kids is so much bigger than what they have, and so is our Father's vision of us so much bigger than what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
truly, part of it is that we still have X number of years more life experience, whether it's 20, 30, or whatever. We have that much more life experience, and no matter what, they don't. So,
that's right.
they are where we were. And when I was in my 20s, I'm pretty sure nobody could tell me anything either.
100%. I
So,
have always rejected authority. So submitting to his authority has been one of my biggest challenges.
well, this has been a different show than my normal. I will say we've talked a lot about business, but been able to weave in our faith so much more than average, I will say. And it doesn't hurt that you're an elder at your church. I know you preach on a regular basis, and I'm blessed to follow that as well. How can people follow you? How can people reach out to you if they've heard something here that they want to know more?
Yeah, I'm all over social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Um, the easiest way to get a hold of me is on my website, srhmarketplace.com, because all of my social links are there, right? You can go there and find everything else. So srhmarketplace.com. Um, and I want to, if I may, offer a word of encouragement for Christians who are in the marketplace. There is a movement of God happening right now throughout the world, not just in the United States, for people to live out their faith in their work. They're not separate anymore, and they should never have been separate. While I worked at this major tech company, I was part of the Interfaith Employee Resource Group. And they were part of an organization that tracks and coaches enterprise global companies on how to integrate faith in the workplace. And so at the enterprise level and at the startup level, people are realizing you cannot check your faith at the door. If you're going to bring your whole self to the workplace, all of your ideas and your passion, then your faith is an integral part of who you are, and you have to bring it with you. So I want to encourage people out there who are faithful believers to put your faith into your workplace, bring it in, be respectful of others, the same way Jesus was respectful of others. Um, be respectful, but don't back down from your faith. Your faith is part of you, and it has its place in the workplace, in the workforce.
And I couldn't ask for a better final statement than that. That was going to be my question. Do you have any final words of encouragement? And ta-da! We got it.
Awesome.
And this has been so much fun. I knew it would be having you here with us, maybe not for the last time. And thank you for pouring into us and with your faith and with your understanding that not all of us have, but you can't get there if you don't start.
Yeah.
And so do something, if you heard something, if something's stirring in your heart right now from hearing Stephen and I talk today, there's an app and it's called the Bible app. Go find it. Or one of many others. There's many others that are out as well, but find something that you can do, just even something every day, and you'll be amazed at where it grows. Some people start with just a verse a day, and it might take a month, it might take years, but they eventually get to a point maybe where I know people reading the entire Bible right now, and that was never on their radar.
Hmm.
So just take the first step. If you feel something stirring, step towards that. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate you.
Thank you for this opportunity. It was wonderful.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I want to thank our audience as well for joining us on Beyond the Business Plan to unleash your joyful business potential. I'm Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep spreading the joy, keep leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, sales setters, would you like to find just the right coach to guide you on your next big business move? You can explore personalized resources, curated support, and vetted one-to-one coaching at joyminder.com/resources. Let's grow your business with purpose and find everything you need in the show notes below. Thank you for sailing with us, Sail Setters. Remember, your journey goes beyond the business plan. So keep charting your own course, leading with heart, and tuning in for more joy and inspiration. Find all the resources and connections in the show notes below, and your support means the world to us. So join our conversation at #JoyMinder, or simply share your favorite takeaways in the comments section below. Until next time, set your sails for success.